Hello to all you patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 286 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the number one live podcast in Canada. We're recording on the 1st of March, 2020. As always, my name is Andrew. I'll be your host. Joining me tonight, Ian, Marty, Brian, Gavin, and Richard is back.
And we'd love to hear your feedback about the show, so please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. A version of the show is available on Stitcher and iTunes.
We need your help to support the show. You can visit patreon.com/CPP and become a Patreon. You can get a better quality version of the show for just $1 per episode. ShoreYourNow.com is to buy a CPP t-shirt for just $19.99 plus shipping and theft. And you can visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com homepage and follow the link on the right.
That brings us to my favorite segment. It's called What Are We Drinking? It's where I ask everybody on the panel what they're drinking. I'm going to start with Ian. Ian, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking some Dos Equis lager.
Very interesting.
Because if we can't go on vacation, we may as well be interesting.
Exactly. I don't always drink Dos Equis, but when I do, it's enjoyable.
Marty, what are you drinking?
Gin tonight.
Why?
Yeah.
Because I'm not one that is opposed to gin, like some of you guys.
Well,
You won't drink scotch because it, quote, tastes funny, but you'll drink gin.
I never said it tastes funny. I said it tastes like dirt.
Well, to be fair, it's more like peat moss and turpentine. Whereas at least with gin, you can mix it with, some tonic water and lime, and it's decent.
all I know is that if Marty's wearing panties, they're coming off.
That's lemon gin. Come on now.
Brian, what are you drinking? Save us, please.
Just drinking some old style Pilsner.
Gavin, what are you drinking?
Drinking a Gretzky's 99 maple barrel whiskey. Not bad. And unfortunately, Coke Zero because the store didn't have Pepsi Max.
Got to use up what you had first, and then
Yeah.
switch to Pepsi.
Just start drinking it straight. Richard, you having anything to drink?
No, I don't. Sorry.
That's okay. Not judging. I have tea. I also have beer. I have Sun Stands Still, a dark sour from Wellington Brewery, courtesy of Brian, because Brian is trying to find something I won't drink. And if the beer says label, I'll drink it. I don't like sour beer. I'll drink sour beers. And there are good sour beers.
Yeah.
I'm not a sour beer kind of a guy. It's like halfway fermented
You're
grape.
sour enough already.
Yeah.
No, it's not even that. It's just it's not lactic acid, but it's whatever they use to
Yeah. Sour it.
make it a sour, and it's just not a flavor that I'm super on board with. But it's a good beer, solid. It's 6% or something. Yeah, 6%.
It's decent, yeah.
And I mean, it tastes good for what it is. It's just a style that it's like Pilsner. I'm not really a big Pilsner guy. It's just not a flavor I go to my way to get. Anyway, we'll remind everybody doing their Patriot Challenge, exercise for your 45 minutes, make room for beer, practice a skill for 10 minutes, read a book for 15 minutes, drink 2 liters of water, and complete a task that'll improve your life. And if you're still on social media and you're not banned from the internet like I am, you can post that template on our website and share it with your friends. Maybe tell them to listen to the podcast. If you have enemies, maybe tell them to listen to the podcast. There's no such thing as bad marketing, or so I'm told.
If I drank 2 liters this time of night, I'd be up at 2 a.m. having a piss.
I think the trick is to not drink it all at once.
Yeah.
Unless,
Of course, you're podcasting and you have a liter of whiskey and Coke, then drink that all.
I got a liter of water. I got a beer. I got a mug of tea. I'm going to have to get up in about 10 minutes. It's fine. It's fine. Everything is fine. Richard is on. For people that have been following the Section 74 stuff, the GoFundMe link is still in the show notes. The GoFundMe is still open, and they're still raising money. If you want to get involved, there's also the email address. You can email s74process@gmail.com, and they'll get you in touch with the right people. And that brings us to Richard. Richard's back, and he had one of his days in court. Richard, do you want to tell everybody about how that's gone?
Well, it's interesting, and I have sent, for those who don't know, I sent the transcript of what happened that day. It was supposed to be a court date hearing, which I had agreed with the Crown Attorney via email that we were going to have it on the 12th of May. And we had set it all up, and all we were supposed to do is go into court, tell the judge, yeah, we're ready to go on the 12th of May. And in that morning session, he said, I'm going to boot you guys to 3:30 because I want to spend some time on this, which I kind of thought was, oh, okay, I guess he's really interested in this thing. So 3:30 comes around, and he's still dealing with his perpetual criminals that he has to deal with all day, every day. So he didn't get to us until close to 4:30. And when we finally got going, he started asking me some questions, and I'm trying to say, well, all I want to do is get my certificate reinstated so we qualify for grandfathering. But he couldn't seem to distinguish himself between the rifles and the certificate. And at one point, when I said that we needed the registration certificates valid, he actually talked to the Crown Attorney that was there, and beating around the bush, he actually agreed with me that, yeah, to qualify for grandfather, you would have to have valid registration certificates. So then he got sidetracked on a couple of other things that he was asking me about. Like he said, well, why don't we, because I was asking for the registrar of firearms to come to the 12th hearing so that we can question her as to exactly what she did to make this nullification bullshit happen. And he said, well, why don't we just get her to bring an affidavit? And my reply was, well, you can't cross-examine a piece of paper, which he agreed with. So anyway, he decided, that's it, I've had enough, pretty well. And he said, I don't have jurisdiction on this. It was something that they could do. Nullification is legal, even though the law has nothing to do with it. And that was that. He was extremely apologetic at the end, which you could read in the transcript, but he said no jurisdiction. So we went on to the next step, which is we are now appealing this decision, and that appeal has been submitted to court.
So what happens next? How long do we wait? What does the appeals process look like?
There is a date hearing set for April sometime 21st, I think it is. That's when Ed will go in front of a judge and say, we need a date. And I guess they'll probably talk to the lawyers on the Crown side and have that date ready to go. And then where we go from there, I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. And he's dealing with two appeals, because there was also one up in Sudbury with Fritz. And the Sudbury issue was a little bit different. The judge in Sudbury basically said, you're not allowed to bring any evidence to court. That's a summation of what happened. Like, okay, really?
How does that?
We're getting this several times, that you can't bring evidence to a provincial court.
What sort of evidence are they trying to bar, and on what basis are they trying to bar it?
Well, it appears to be any evidence we want to bring.
But how are you supposed to go to trial for something if you can't bring evidence to support
Exactly. Hence why we're appealing these decisions.
Yeah. Like,
Well, what I've noticed too is like, okay, so down the States, I know different country, different laws. I get that, but just as an example, with a lot of these presidential things that were going on after the election, there was either no standing or they refused to hear the case. It wasn't so much a loss in court. I don't understand why a judge would make an appointment with you, adjust the appointment with you, hear the whole case, just to tell you he doesn't have jurisdiction. Like, why would he even agree to hear the case? Why would he say you should be filing this under X court versus his court?
This isn't my deal.
It's easier than having to go to work and deal with your actual job. Like, if I get invited to a meeting to go to like a wellness thing about like, we have this new HR policy and we only buy the purple colored soda cans now instead of the red colored soda cans.
Well, the red ones.
That's way easier than doing my actual job. And I mean, I can't really fault a government apparatchik for finding a loophole to get out of doing work.
I'm blown away that he would like listen to the whole case before he finally at the end said, "Oh, by the way, thanks for all that, but I can't help you."
Yes, you can't bring any evidence, and this isn't my deal. Yeah, this isn't my bag, baby. Yeah.
The May 12th hearing was supposed to be the jurisdictional hearing, but he turned that day last month into an actual mini hearing, which is one of the things that we said, okay, well, no, he shouldn't have done that. That what he did was not actually legal. He should have just said, yep, okay, we'll have your date on the 12th, and then we'll hear everything that day.
But I guess you've got a lot of things to fight then.
Well, yeah, and the
You're
interesting
appealing.
thing was he said more than once, like he said, why are you bringing this case up during a pandemic and while I got so many criminal cases that are clogging the courts? Like putting the onus back on me, saying, why are you doing this? Well, because it's our legal right to do this.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't have any of it.
No, so he didn't accept the argument that it's like we have a legal recourse for this, pandemic or not, and also we have a limited amount of time in which to do it, pandemic or not.
Mm-hmm. No, he just didn't think that I should be doing this or any of us. And the interesting thing was,
I mean, I agree you shouldn't be, but that's because the government shouldn't be trying to take
Well,
our guns. But
and
they
Or
are
introducing
so.
legislation during a pandemic either.
And
I mean,
I put in one of my submissions to him that because it was like we had to send all this evidence ahead of time, right? Or at least our arguments in ahead of time. And I said to him, I wouldn't be doing this if they just didn't do a revoke or nullification in the first place. If they just left our certificates alone, none of us would be in court. So don't blame us, blame them.
Yeah. Cause and effect.
Yep.
So you're appealing. Is Fritz appealing?
Yes.
And can you walk me through the differences at a high level between your case and his? Because I understand that the argument is slightly different.
Yeah, I'm not sure the tact that Ed's going to do between the two of us. He's going to argue, I understand, for my position, that the judge did not have jurisdiction to say he didn't have jurisdiction. He should have gone through and allowed the court date for the 12th. And that's why at the very end, you'll see that I said in there specifically, so there's no May 12th. And I wanted to get that on record that he is actually denying me the court date that we had agreed to. Yeah. Now the Fritz, I believe he's going after the lack, not allowed to bring evidence. And we lost another one today in Edmonton. Another judge in Edmonton today said that he doesn't have jurisdiction. So things are not going so well right now.
well, it's just like the human rights complaints, I think, with a lot of guys, including myself, that filed one over this whole thing. And they just did a blanket denial for everybody all in one fell swoop, which is, again, not what they're supposed to be doing. But they're just making shit up as they go along, I swear.
Well, I think mostly it's because, and we've had this discussion on Signal, is that these judges, they don't understand what, because they've never, this judge has never had one of these before. So he was totally in the dark, even though he said he had read all the material. It just seems that he did not understand the difference between, because he kept going back to the rifle saying, well, I can't grant you your rifle. No, that's not what I want. It's the registration certificates that I want.
Well,
and I even showed him the piece of paper that has the registration certificate on it.
But I'm sure even the ones that have done this before, it's usually because a certificate has been revoked for potentially a valid reason, like the person has done something that warrants a revocation.
Mm-hmm.
Not, we just said that your certificate doesn't exist anymore.
And that's an interesting point that they said. Actually, the Crown lawyer in Sudbury actually said that legally our guns don't exist anymore.
What?
Yes.
Interesting. So what you're saying is that I should go boating with them.
Well, what you can do, and I'm not advocating anybody do this now, but if
Theoretically,
if you disable a firearm that's restricted, you're supposed to contact the RCMP and said, I've disabled this firearm and I'm going to sell it as a non-gun. Well,
Yeah.
because they've nullified our registration certificates and the guns don't exist, we're free to disable these guns and sell them and not tell anybody.
probably get a
I
better
suppose
price for it
that's-
that way than I will from JT.
As long as you don't call it an airsoft, I suppose.
Yeah.
Those guys
Well,
are
it would-
getting nothing.
Yeah.
And in fact, because of this airsoft stuff, and I'm not the only one, I've seen a couple of other people say this. I intend to buy an airsoft gun because fuck you. If you say I can't have one, the hell with you. I'm going to get one.
Some of
I mean,
them
that-
cost as much as real guns.
Yeah,
I feel like that's the right response to most government activity.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Especially there's still full auto BB guns out there that can be purchased. So, I mean,
Well, not for long, probably.
Yeah.
But imagine those will fall into that bizarre loophole as well. I mean,
It's not a loophole when they do it. It's only a loophole when we do it.
Oh, yeah.
So, has anyone managed to get an appeal yet, or do we just have people that are on the docket for
Well,
the next level of court?
Fradsham ruling where he said he had jurisdiction, which was in Calgary back in November 30th. The Crown is actually appealing that case, and I have not heard yet when that is coming up. I suspect probably not till the summer at the earliest. So we'll have to see what happens. And the interesting thing is the judge in my case, because I brought this up about the Calgary, and he said, well, that's just them. That's no bearing on what I think. Okay, well, I guess because it's a different province, maybe he can say that. But I mean, really,
Okay, but
come on.
case law is still kind of a thing, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, yes, but if it happens at the provincial court level, every
On a federal
provincial
issue,
court is different.
but on
I
a
don't-
federal issue.
I don't know that it's gonna. I would like to see some sort of precedent from any other case where a provincial court judge has dictated an interpretation of a federal law.
That's what they're doing. That is exactly what they're doing. They're saying that the nullification is valid. And they're basing the nullification on the premise that the registrar didn't do anything, that she just all of a sudden magically all the records in the database, and Andrew, you're into IT, so you understand this, that for some reason, all of a sudden, all these records of all the guns that were in the order in council automatically all by themselves got turned into nullified on their record. Well, no, because somebody's got to run an SQL query and match the records up.
Even if they did, I can't imagine the government would intentionally destroy records of who had firearms.
Oh, they
God,
haven't
that would be
destroyed
so
records.
good if they did.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
Could you just imagine if they
maybe went in
accidentally
and,
did?
like, they changed the value in one of the columns to be like, all these guns is now
nice.
prohibited equals true.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine them being like, drop all guns from table.sql and
Yeah.
call it a day. Like, that's
Well,
not.
The FRT and the registrar's database are two separate databases. So
For sure.
records had to have been imported into the registrar's database and then checked to make sure they actually match records that they expected to match. And then they printed all the letters out, and they would have to have tested that. So she did things. There's no way it was an automatic thing that happened. It's physically impossible.
No, I agree with that. I think it's a matter of explaining that to a judge in a way that's palatable.
And I've got that document ready to go for the next time.
As
Where
long
I
as they
actually
let
show
you
tables
submit
and
it as
fields. Yeah, I show all the
I think
tables
the
and
hard
fields.
thing-
And so anyway,
I think the hard thing here is that the judges aren't experts in this area, and they assume that the government is acting in good faith here.
well, yeah, but there are many judges that have ruled against the government many times.
Not enough.
Not enough.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's where we are.
So I'm curious if the registration certificate no longer exists,
That's what they claim.
what that means if C21 comes into force, if our
Well,
now deleted records of our AR-15s
Yeah,
mean
let's
we have
look-
to like continue to store our AR-15s.
let's look at
It no longer
C21.
exists.
There are some interesting aspects of C21. I've gone through the whole thing now, and the entire new 1202 is not considered a grandfathering. They don't call it that.
Sorry.
In fact, they
could you
got rid of
explain
12.8 and
for everyone
12.9.
who's not up on firearms law.
Well, this 1201 is a new section in the Firearms Act that they're trying to insert. And what they're trying to say is that, well, you have a choice. You can either sell them to the government or you can keep them, but you can never use them. And when you die, you have to have them destroyed. Right.
So this is what the
That's
government is
happened.
calling non-permissive storage.
Yes, exactly. And what 1201 is, well, they got rid of 12.8 and 12.9, which allowed for grandfathering. So now that means that what we're doing with the 74 challenges is valid, that they had to realize, well, we better get rid of this. But anyway, get back to the 1201s.
Yeah, but there was other stuff that's been grandfathered previously
Yep.
that you can't pass on or use.
Well, that's all, most of the 12s up until 12,
Yeah,
I guess.
But that's what I mean. So
7.
like there is a precedent in that, like, you can call it grandfathering because you're allowed to keep it even though it's prohibited, but you still can't use it and you still can't pass it on to your children or anything like that.
Yeah,
So
that's the 12.2 to 12.5, I guess.
yeah,
or whatever.
there's only one of those, I think, that's like the
12.6.
short-barreled pistols that you can still actually use at a range that. Yeah.
So the interesting thing about this new 1201 section is it's based on the order in council.
Yeah.
And it says so explicitly in there that this is based on this order in council. Well, order in councils can be nullified by another order in council. So the Conservatives could quite conceivably, if they ever get in, just say, we're going to nullify that order in council, and 1201 no longer exists. It's no longer legal because they've nullified the order in council that nullified our guns. It would be kind of ironic, actually, but well, who knows if that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Depends if Dominion Voting's in charge of the next tabulation of votes, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
he wants phone-in voting, and
if the votes come in and all of a sudden one of the sides jumps vertically and votes, that only happens once. Lightning doesn't strike twice, right?
Mhm.
We'll know for sure that that's a scam.
I
Not that we know
personally, I
already,
don't
but-
think the C21 is going to make it. I think they were going to have an election before they can get anywhere with it. I hope I'm right with that. It's possible that I'm wrong. I just can't see them getting it through in this session of Parliament. There's just not enough sitting days. So,
Well,
the
can I ask
earliest
a
they can
dumb
get,
question
I'm just saying
around that? 'Cause
the earliest they can do this is in the fall, and maybe not even until next spring. So there may be an election between now and
the
then.
process for having a bill become a law in this country, for people that have not paid attention to this process before.
Want me to explain that? Because I can.
First, well,
Yep.
let me see if I
Go
got
ahead.
this right. Correct
Yep.
me where I go wrong. First reading,
Yep, done,
second reading,
done.
committee, third reading,
Yep.
committee.
Well, passed to the Senate.
Okay, so it's
Yeah.
a Senate committee,
Yep.
Senate reading, Governor General, law.
Yes.
That's basically the
Yeah. There's a first reading in the Senate, a second reading in the Senate, then committees in the Senate, and then there's the vote final to send it back to the House. And then the House has to vote on it again to send it to the Governor General for royal assent.
So how long does it normally take for a bill to go through its first and second reading in the House?
C71 was 18 months.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is already first and second reading in 2
Like
weeks.
a week, 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
But they were they didn't take very long. They didn't spend very much time. I mean, it's possible that they could rush this through before
Yeah.
the end. I just don't
I
see
mean,
them doing that.
I have a feeling that this will also die because an election happens. And I think that this will be we tried so hard to do this.
Mhm.
We were so close. We need that majority, but you
Yep.
never know because the NDP and the Liberals are big fans of this one. The only reason I see the NDP maybe not going for it is because they don't go hard enough on what they're doing to us.
Well, from
Right.
what we have heard is the NDP don't like this bill because it doesn't
Yeah.
force the buyback. It's voluntary.
And that's the only reason they may not support it, in which case then it'll fail and then the Liberals can use that to be
Mhm.
see what happens with the NDP. That's why you need and use it as a strategic thing to get the votes to push it through in the next one, which hopefully they don't. But I don't have faith in the average
NDP
voter.
is already NDP has already said that they will not work with a conservative minority. So the only chance you have is a conservative majority.
Yes, that is
And so
correct.
I think that's unlikely. I think you're going to end up with another liberal minority at this point.
Yeah.
And I think at that point they're going to say, "Look, we were reelected. They, candidate. We have a what do they call the word?
12% of the country voted for us. We have a mandate.
Mhm.
Mandate. That's the word I was looking for. Thanks,
Yeah.
Andrew. We have a mandate, and in order to get the NDP on board, they'll just make the new one mandatory, and
mandatory.
they'll just make it even
Yeah.
more strict because that's the
Yeah.
mandate that they have, that they
Which-
made up.
Interesting
Well-
aside, at first
Well,
Trudeau
I'm sure
thought
that the
mandate
Liberal
meant
Party
something
has
else.
many mandates. Damn it, Gavin.
You took it right out of your mouth.
That's what he said.
Heyo.
Yeah, it's like
Oh,
you finish
something
each
that
other's
Trudeau
sandwiches.
said.
Well, that's where we are
Yeah.
anyway.
I think you're right, Richard. I foresee an election. I would say within the next 3 to 4 months, we're probably going to see a writ drop.
If it'll be
Also,
before
I
the
think
summer
that-
or right after the summer.
I think they're going to drop the airsoft stuff from it too to get all those people to vote for them still.
Oh, when it comes back from committee?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see
Yeah.
that.
But the thing is, they've played their hand now, and the airsoft guys are going to say, well, they've dropped us this time. what's going to happen next time?
Yeah, but so
No, I don't think so. Look at firearms owners. Firearms
people-
owners
Yeah,
themselves.
there's
How many
too
people
much
do we have that
apathy.
go? Yeah. Oh, well, hey, they're not coming after the hunting guns. They're only coming after the scary guns, so it's fine. And
This
the
is a
airsoft guys,
way-
as soon as it gets, I'd say 90% of the airsoft guys, if they pull the airsoft out, they're going to be like, okay, good. They fixed it, and I can still vote for
Or-
them now.
or they'll give them some small concession and say, fine, we'll paint the tips orange or something, and then we can keep them and all of that, and everything will be fine, because then they're not realistically replicating a firearm because of an orange tip on it or something stupid, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, you already look at, I know it's later in the show notes, but I think it's relevant. Like, there's the petition out right now for C21 that focuses like solely on the airsoft component. And so, like, great, like, it's not that I don't support those guys, but also like kind of, a big FU to those guys, because like, where were they when we were fighting for all of it? And now they're just like, oh, don't trash this thing because the whole thing is garbage. It's like, let's just carve out this airsoft part. Like, screw the gun guys. All I care about is my airsoft guns. And so that's
Yeah.
why I think that, like,
Well,
yeah,
you
if
say
they
that
pull
now,
that
but
out, they'll be fine with it.
everyone knows that airsoft guns are a gateway gun.
Well, that's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
The anti-gun people, they don't want airsoft at all.
Well, let's
And they are
be
a lot of
particular.
pressure.
The anti-gun people are, in this case, the spin doctors for gun control.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is one very specific anti-firearms group that seems to want to have airsoft guns being banned, because even
Well,
the
maybe-
polyvet people don't seem to be interested.
You know what? I think I have a reason for that. Remember, like, a long time ago on the show, we talked about
tiny, like, little, just a
we talked about, like, they had all the firearms injuries, and like the vast majority of those were pellet gun and BB gun and airsoft gun and paintball gun injuries that they counted as firearms injuries. I mean, if
And
we ban
kids were
them,
counted as like 24-year-olds.
yeah, that one. So if we get rid of all of those, then those statistics will drop, and they'll be able to show that the thing that they did stopped people from getting hurt. Meanwhile, the same people are still getting shot in Toronto by illegal handguns from gangbangers, but statistically, because they've eliminated all of the kids playing with toys, the
What
number goes
happened
down.
today? I heard something about some shootout today in Toronto or near Toronto.
I mean, it's another Monday.
Yeah.
No one's shocked.
Yeah.
Toronto, I think, what was it for 2020? I think Toronto has had more homicides than they had in the previous 5 years, I think was the statistic. Don't
Yeah.
quote me on that. Somebody fact check that. I'm not been drinking.
Well, there
but I
was,
think this is
Has
the-
anybody looked at the correlation between firearms deaths in Toronto and liberals being in power?
It's
I
gone
would say
way
there
up
is a
since Trudeau.
strong positive correlation
Yes.
to that, Marty.
Yeah, I think we, if it saves one life, we need to vote them out.
Ban liberals.
Absolutely.
Ban Toronto.
Yeah.
It's the right thing to do. Think
Yep.
of the children.
Now, can we touch on the handgun ban for a second? Because we need to clarify maybe what some people think is
Sure.
going on with that. So the
Sure.
way my original issue with it was, are they going to give the names and addresses of everybody that has handguns to the municipalities? And that's not what they're going to do. The municipalities actually aren't going to ban the guns. They're just going to pass a bylaw. They tell the minister that they passed this bylaw. And if you don't comply with the bylaw within 180 days, they pull your registration certificates. So
Which
it's the
part
federal
of the bill
government
is that
actually
in?
doing it. It's not the
Yeah.
municipalities doing it.
Yeah, because I mean, I know if you
And
read
that's how
through-
they're able to do it, circumventing the provinces as well.
Well, the
Because
province
they're
can
not
still
giving the
pass-
power.
Right, but the province can still pass a law saying, no, you can't ban handguns.
Yeah, but Ford has yet to do that in Ontario because he was our guy. Now he's a big POS.
Well, we'll see. It's Saskatchewan and Alberta are probably on
Yeah.
board, at least. Well, we know Saskatchewan is.
Yeah.
So we'll have
Yeah.
to see what happens.
I'll
Yeah,
did
there's-
of Montreal as well. Mostly not be like they're on board with the handgun ban, but they are pissed off that that power is being given to municipalities that they don't have.
Right. The other thing about the handgun ban, the way it's being done, that they can revoke our registration certificates, is it has nothing to do with gun crime. Nothing. Because this is people who legally own these guns that they're deliberately targeting. So it can't have anything to do with the illegal handguns on the street.
So you're saying Toronto passing a law to ban handguns isn't going to stop gangsters
Oh.
from Toronto from using illegal handguns. Is that
Weird.
I'm shocked.
damnedest thing?
Yeah, but I mean, if you read through C21, there's all kinds of
and-
weird little sneaky things like this that are put in there, like the powers that they're giving now to, peace officers that weren't full peace officers before, and now they can carry guns because the government says so, and all kinds of weird stuff.
Well, the other thing in there that
The other
apparently-
interesting one is the removal of the right to issue authorization to carries from the CFOs.
Yes, I saw that too.
That's a weird one.
That's because they're worried about provinces that actually appoint their own CFOs that may be carry friendly.
Yeah.
They're just taking away.
That's
their
what
rights
I'm
to do so.
wondering.
Because
Well, that's
right now
exactly
it's,
what it is.
Like now that
it's a May issue. What happens if Alberta CFO says shall issue? If you apply for it, you'll get it. Well, they can't stop them right now, but with C21,
Yeah.
they sure can.
yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Is like now that they've appointed their own CFO, and there's concern that was going to be a gun friendly CFO. So now they're quickly going to remove powers from the CFOs.
Yeah, lots of weird little things that don't seem like a big thing in C21, but when you kind of follow them through, it becomes a little bit more nefarious, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Well, especially if a CFO issued an ATC and it actually saved one life, and they could actually use it as a test case or a poster child for concealed carry or personal defense weapons, that would just destroy their narrative. They can't have that, right?
Yeah,
Oh, Trudeau explicitly stated on TV that we're not allowed to use guns to protect our lives.
Yeah, Firearms Act says otherwise, though.
I
That's so
know.
weird.
yeah. Also, the gun sitting in my gun safe says otherwise.
Our
If I can get to
RCMP
it
that
in time.
surrounds him say otherwise.
Yeah,
Yours are talking to you too, eh?
yeah.
The
As long as
world
they're
is
arguing with
it's
you,
gone
that's fine.
Yeah.
Well, all we can do is hope that maybe this coronavirus, he's fucked this up so badly that enough people have had enough of him. I mean, you get people like who's the big guy that writes? He was a liberal. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. He's just gnashing at Trudeau, saying he's terrible.
Is that Kinsella you're thinking of?
Yes, Warren Kinsella. Yeah, thank you. He's been writing a lot of stuff against Trudeau, big time, and he's a hardcore liberal guy. This Kinsella. So hopefully, there's enough insider liberals that have had enough of him.
I haven't seen any sign of it.
No, well, we don't, and you
I haven't
won't.
seen any sign of it.
No, you won't. You won't see the inside backstabbing, but that doesn't mean it's not happening.
Oh, I'm sure it
no, I
happens.
think-
No, I just
Marty
mean
needs
in
to-
terms of
And the general public,
I-
I think.
general public, I have not seen any sign of people realizing or paying attention to the terrible job that Trudeau has done.
Nah, people
No.
don't care. People really don't.
They love what he's doing. They're
Yeah.
getting
And
the
we're in
free
trouble.
money. I mean,
Well,
they
let's
put
see
out
if
the
it's free money.
C21.
Taxes are coming up now.
Well, yeah, but they dropped the C21. The week later, C22 that
That's awful.
decreases all of the penalties for all of the things, except if anyone on this panel gets caught doing any of that stuff, we'll probably still get the book thrown at us. They do all of that,
Mhm.
and then they drop the UBI thing. So now it's like banning guns and all of the free money every month. Heck yeah, right? Like it's a distraction, right? Like do all the good things that the people are asking for, even though they're not asking for it, and they think it's good for them when really it's not.
No, in the long run, it's not.
They don't care. They're not paying attention.
No,
What
they
the
just
hell,
want the
like-
next vote.
Does anyone even remember SNC Lavalin? Right?
Oh, but
Or
have
the
you
We
seen
Charity
lately-
scandal or
Well,
any
yeah,
of
but
the
have you
other
seen-
stuff?
Have you seen lately what's happening with the We Charity scandal? Some guy in the States is getting the RCMP and the U.S. Internal Revenue Agency involved in the We organization for deliberately fraudulating, if that's the word, various things that this guy was involved in donating to the company. They can't find where the money is supposed to have been going. He had his plaque. Some school was supposed to be built in his son's name, and he gave the We Charity all his money to do the school, and they took the plaque off and put somebody else's plaque on the school. And he is royally pissed. He's got a video. He came out yesterday after he did a testimony in front of the House of Commons the day before. This
Nobody's
isn't
gonna
over
care.
yet with the We scandal.
But we just
Nobody
had a single source contract awarded to a company that's been around for a week for $345 million or something like that, and nobody even batted an eye. That's what
Yeah.
Yeah.
does he make a wave in the media?
Yeah, nobody
So-
cares. Everyone's
Oh, wait, you got to get it right. The company had been around for a week. It was a direct source $346 million contract that was then subcontracted out to a company of a former liberal.
That's correct.
Interesting.
You gotta get it entire.
yeah. You
there.
got to get the whole shell game, or it doesn't count.
Yep.
Exactly.
And Trudeau's involved in there somewhere.
Oh, I guarantee there's a kickback involved. Just very, very organized crime style. Yeah.
Yeah, or a couple of handies under the table.
Yeah.
I don't even know if
maybe a
he is
mandate.
involved. Like, I feel like the corruption just kind of runs itself at this point.
Yeah.
Well, if he's not involved, he knew about it.
Well, he could have been too busy watching, Sophie and Idris go at it.
Yeah.
To even notice that it happened.
So,
right?
so she had a mandate, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't know. Honestly, I really don't think he's that involved. I think he's too dumb to, like, they're not going to tell him this kind of stuff. I think it just I think that they just run everything in the background, and then they put him on the CBC with funny socks, and they know that the media will take care of it.
Yeah. They've gotten a lot better at gluing his eyebrows on, though.
I really don't think, like, because, like, he's not smart enough to run this kind of stuff.
No.
He's not he's not smart enough to handle this kind of corruption, and so he's got no clue what's going on.
Are you trying to say that they don't teach this kind of thing in substitute drama teacher school?
It's the kind of life lessons you can only learn on the ski slopes.
Yeah.
Very quickly, I did get fact checked on the YouTube comments, and I want to thank whoever that was. Godlike 666666669. That's a lot of sixes, bro. So I went and pulled up the Toronto Police Services firearm and shooting death data. So they have a Power BI thing that you can go log into and do fun things with. I was wrong. There was less homicides in Toronto last year, and they didn't even surpass the shooting number. 2019 was the peak year for shootings in Toronto at 492. There was only 462 in 2020, 30 less, despite having been in lockdown for 8 months out of that year.
No, almost 9 months.
It's
So, 10
weird that
months.
Mea culpa and so forth.
Yeah.
It was not the most dangerous year last year in Toronto. It was 2019 where they had all the shooting deaths.
weird. But I mean,
So the liberal
still
policy
under-
is
still under liberal
it's
rule.
finally
Right,
working.
not
Just
shooting
lock
deaths.
everybody in their houses.
Not shooting deaths, shootings, because again, like accuracy. Shootings. Sorry, carry on.
This is all nonsense. Say about this.
This is super duper nonsense.
Yeah. Kidding.
Oh, here's fun. Election prediction thing. In the YouTube comments, freedom is everything, many exclamation points, and what appears to be a spanner. They will use COVID as an excuse to not have an election. Hot takes before I go?
No, not possible.
I mean, they legally they kind of
have to.
have to, but I think they're going to use the COVID as a way to get stupid ways to vote in.
I agree with that. Telephone voting, online voting, not
May have
they
balance.
gotta pass
in-person dating
legislation.
over.
They got to pass legislation to do that, and they don't have the time.
I don't.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah, order
they
council,
can't.
a state of emergency, whatever it is. I mean, they'll figure it out. They'll find a way.
What's going to happen is that right now, that they all want an election, but they all know that whoever forces the election, the other is going to use that as a platform against them. So they're going to say, these assholes called an election during a pandemic and are trying to force that. Like, so it's basically a stalemate where they all want to call an election, but nobody wants to be the one to make the move.
Yeah,
And the conservatives have already come forward and saying, no, we're not going to support pushing for an election right now. So
Yeah,
they're
so-
staying away from this like a hot potato. It is
everyone's supposed to be vaccinated by September,
not
so
going
the
to happen.
election will be September.
Yeah, that's physically impossible. They will not meet their targets. It's not possible to do that.
They can vaccinate me right after they pay for all my guns.
Yeah.
And not only that,
I
they've already
mean-
said it doesn't allow you to stop any social distancing or mask wearing or anything else. So what would
Yeah, but it won't
be the
matter.
point, right?
You'll be vaccinated so they can have an election. So whenever they can get that sorted out, probably by approving all kinds of other vaccines that are even worse than the ones that they've already approved. And then they'll just be like, we're good to go for an election. Look what we did. We gave you UBI, we banned all the guns, or we're very close to it, and we got you all vaccinated like we promised. Vote for us.
Well, they can have the vaccines ready to go, but they don't have the infrastructure to roll it out that fast. There's no way. It can't be done.
Well, that's
They
the
would have to
province's
hire-
fault.
Well,
That's
what
not
they'll
their
say.
fault.
Yeah, but they would have to hire tens
Exactly.
of thousands of people to administer the vaccine and train them all. That's not going to work. They can't get everybody, because I don't know, they had some ridiculous number by the end of March, beginning of April, and I looked at that and just, yeah, no, that can't happen. Not possible. So they're not going to get everybody by September.
No, I don't think they will either, because I think a good number of people are going to not want to get it. But like, I'm sure that'll be part of the considerations of when they can have an election without having it be seen as a negative thing, is that either the vast majority of the population actually is vaccinated, or the media is just telling people that the vast majority of the population has been vaccinated. Because if the media says it, everyone will believe it.
Mhm. The interesting time is when the budget comes up, because that can trigger an election.
Yeah, that's always a confidence vote.
Yeah, and the Jagmeet's got his puckered face right into Trudeau's ass so deep, he's going to vote for whatever Trudeau gives him.
Well, as long as he gets his 10 sick days.
As another
Yeah.
couple sick days, we probably do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're gonna have a year off, boys, if this shit keeps going on. A year of sick
Well,
days.
someone's still got to work.
Yeah, I feel like I gotta still pay some taxes here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that I want to, just that I'm going to be obligated to.
Mhm.
That's just your privilege speaking, Andrew. The privilege of
It
you paying
probably
tax.
is. I don't know that I want to dive into details of the actual body of the bill this late into the hour. Maybe we
No.
do some feedback and wrap this up.
Yeah, I guess just one thing, and one of the things that we've touched on it briefly with the airsoft thing. There's an article in there, but like they admit that they know that this covers airsoft guns and they don't care, and that they are going after them.
Oh, that was deliberate.
Yeah. It wasn't like
yeah,
a
airsoft paintball.
Yeah, it wasn't a mistake like the shotguns getting caught up in the 20 millimeter thing.
Yeah, I don't
And Blair
understand yet.
tweeting that they're okay. This was a deliberate go after for the airsoft guns. And like, for those that don't know, I guess all replica firearms are considered prohibited unless they have a muzzle, or at least previously had a muzzle velocity over a certain thing. So in order to make airsoft guns legal in Canada, they actually had to up the muzzle velocity to be able to bring them in. And now with C21, they're going to say anything that falls in that range that we had to up them up to is now prohibited, so long as it looks like a gun that is a real gun that's also prohibited. So if it doesn't look like a real gun,
Oh no,
It's fine.
it's not that it's a real gun that's prohibited. It's a real gun, period.
Yes.
yeah, sorry, yes.
So the
Yeah, if
guys
it
that
looks
had-
like something that doesn't exist,
right.
but it's still gun-like, it's fine. But if it looks like an AR or
Well,
You
So
know,
guys,
the aliens Mark 71 assault rifle flamethrower combo that Sigourney Weaver had, good to go.
yeah,
yeah,
But the M134 machine gun that they had in Predator, not so much, even though those
Yeah.
are in the same movie universe.
and much like the real gun
Okay.
laws,
Disappointing.
cosmetics are important, not the actual function.
well, it's not just those guns. It's guys that have the airsoft K98s. They're gonna lose them.
I didn't know there was an airsoft K98.
Yeah.
Now I kind of want one.
So there is that futtery with airsoft, or is
Yeah, yeah.
Actually,
Milsurp
you'd be
butter
sur-
added?
One of the airsoft. Well, I'm getting an airsoft, and it's the Sterling SMG. That's an airsoft. It's $350 in the States. I'm getting it. Hell with them.
Well, I mean,
But I do have a question, and I've been trying to get an answer to this, and maybe we'll just put it out there and see if anybody responds to it. But all the guns that were in the order, or not the that were not in the order in council and became prohibited under the FRT, I don't see them as being part of this legislation. So are they
That's
prohibited or
because
not?
that they are not prohibited because you have two Crown attorneys that during a court proceeding admit that the FRT is opinion and not binding law.
So our Darias are fine.
You'll have to fight it in court and
Yeah.
you'll win.
Yeah, but who wants to go through that hassle, honestly?
I mean,
Some of us can't afford that.
Yeah,
That's exactly why I have firearms insurance and legal defense and stuff like that.
I'm willing to tap a line of credit to play stupid
Yeah.
games with the government.
Look at what all these things are doing now and getting a GoFundMe for all kinds of stupid stuff. I'm sure if I was out with
No.
my SLR, I could
You will
put a GoFundMe.
100% get banned from GoFundMe as soon as you try.
I will use every other resource available.
Well,
will-
every other resource is going to be the thing to do because I
Yeah.
foresee that we're going to unfortunately be labeled as white ring,
Mhm.
right wing, not white ring.
Same thing anyway.
difference. Yeah, same difference. Yeah.
Right wing extremists and get banned from the internet further than we already, some of us at least, have been, because we want to ask people to donate to our legal fund.
Either way, I would happily fight that because I know that I would win.
Well, I don't know that I would win, but
Well,
I mean-
ATRS is trying to go to bat for that as well, are they not?
well, they should be, and they're doing it as a commercial claim, as I understand it, because they're talking about millions of dollars in lost revenue and
Yeah.
goodwill and tied up inventory and inability to pay suppliers because of rotating credit schemes and so forth. So I absolutely think that ATRS and companies like that should be doing everything in their legal ability to take the government
Yeah.
to task for this poorly
Especially-
written legislation.
Especially for this thing where they haven't outright prohibited it by law and they're just changing a number in the background because that is not law. At least like if you're going to prohibit
Yeah,
it, like
like
have
this
the balls to
ATRS
actually
Didn't
prohibit
get
it.
impacted by law.
Yeah.
Yeah, like ATRS's rifles did not get prohibited, but they've been banned from selling them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's some of the, not the dumbest thing I've ever heard, but I mean, like, excluding everything I've heard from like the House of Commons coverage the last 2 weeks, it's the dumbest thing I've heard.
Yeah.
Now, what else I can see happening is that they'll come down with another order in council that amends that May 1st order in council.
Yeah. But
adding all
until
the
they do
FRT
that,
bits.
Yes.
until they do that. But I think they're avoiding that right now because they've seen what a shitstorm it was. Not that it's really scared them off from moving forward with what they've already got, but I don't think they want to fight two battles at the same time. They're going to do this and see how this goes, and then if they're successful, they will jump on board on it and gladly ban all of the guns by OAC moving forward. But
Yep. That's what
if
they'll
they
do.
do, I think if they try to bite off too much all at once, it's going to rile up too many people. But
It
little
should rile
bits,
up everyone. The government's
It
ability
should.
to tell you that you're no longer allowed to legally, peacefully own property that you could have owned up until this point, despite having jumped through all of their numerous loopholes and nonsense.
Yeah.
Should
Well, you
enrage
could
anyone
still
who has
own
who-
it, you just
not a
can't use
communist,
it,
which I
yeah.
realize in this country is not a great majority. But I still think there's a plurality of the people in this country that like to be able to own property. But maybe I'm wrong.
I think that the
Elizabeth
problem
May
is that
said that
most
we-
people assume that you can own property in this country.
Say Lizzie May said in the House of Commons on the second reading that property rights don't exist in Canada. And
I mean,
to an
she's
extent,
right.
she's right.
She's right. She
Because
shouldn't
it's a,
be, but
it's a
she
preview,
is.
it's a purview of the provinces, not the federal government.
Well, then
Yeah.
why is she allowed to go to the liquor store and buy a bottle of wine?
Exactly. Or in a
I'm-
car.
I see, because I'm drawing a corollary because she's a drunkard.
Yep.
But
Yeah. That video of her giving that speech.
Yeah, but
when
if you
she's
had to spend
hammered-
all day with her, you'd be drunk too.
Yeah,
Her and Blair
I'd be
together.
using something stronger than a
Yeah.
bottle of wine, but here we are.
Yeah.
I don't want to live in a
That
place
that
where
would be
we're
a
going to
great
own
charity
nothing
event.
like it. Hit
Who can
Elizabeth May in the
drink
face with
more?
a bottle of wine. Oh,
I mean, yes,
oh.
but who could drink? If you set her and Blair down side by side and you just keep feeding them shots, I'd
Blair's
watch
bigger.
that on pay-per-view.
Yeah, I mean,
The hard thing though is to make it a fair competition. They have to start off sober, and I think
Yes.
you'd have a hard time getting both of them sober.
Yeah. That's like
I think that's
the beer
negligence.
fest
If
thing.
if you stop an
We're
alcoholic
not
from
that drunk.
drinking, right? That becomes negligence if they detox that way. I mean, I guess you could do it under medical supervision, but then that's probably still like malpractice to like encourage them to start drinking again when it's done. I don't know. I feel like there's like legal ramifications for doing this.
I'd still watch it on pay-per-view.
I don't advocate pitting politicians against one another for monetary gain through some sort of pay-per-view scheme.
What if it's combat to the death?
For legal reasons, I have to remind everyone that this is a joke.
But like at the same time, if there was like a like Francis Ngannou versus Justin Trudeau match, like I would tune in.
Yeah.
Is it like the title match or is it like a warm-up match?
That'd be
I'd still tune in.
That'd be in the undercard.
Is it bare knuckle boxing or with gloves?
He's had a professional fight before.
Yeah.
Trudeau, so I don't know. I think we could get it. I think we can get an athletic commission to certify this.
Yeah.
I mean, we could be the athletic commission.
Yeah.
Everyone raise your right hand if you certify this match, and then, it passes.
Yeah.
We're all on board.
Perfect.
Like you to raise your right hand and point to where the match should be held, please.
Yeah, in Ottawa.
In Ottawa, we could repurpose the hockey rink on the hill.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. Anyway, listener feedback. I feel like it's time. All right, I'll read listener feedback. You guys feel free to jump in. I feel like I'm reasonably sober, or at least the words are standing still long enough.
Wow. More sober than Blair May.
Yes, I have to use my own money to buy the alcohol. I can't use taxpayer dollars. This is from Albert regarding intelligence. I don't like where this is going already. Good day, guys. Are any of you listening to, I'm going to butcher this, Tom Quiggin's podcast? I'm asking because I'm surprised that no one on this podcast has mentioned the joint Canada-China military exercises and how Trudeau and the Prime Minister's office lost their shit when the last exercise was canceled. Maybe consider having him on as a guest. He is certainly a Canadian patriot. That's from Albert.
I listen to every episode that comes out. I remember discussing
what is Tom Quiggin's podcast called? I don't know it.
The Quiggin Report. And he's got a website and a couple other things. But I remember mentioning one episode to you guys, and Marty brought up a really good point in the fact that it's very hard to get the receipts on what he's talking about. Like, I agree that, he's actually pretty good at pointing out the fact that all politicians are shitty. And he's just as bad with O'Toole as he is with Trudeau.
Agree.
But by the same token, though, there's a lot of stuff that he's claiming. I can't find any sort of backup, like intelligence sources that he's quoting. So a lot of times he's like awesome commentary, awesome hot take on things. I just can't back it up with any other source.
So it's kind of like the Canadian Alex Jones.
I was just thinking that.
Kinda.
I was just thinking that exactly.
I don't know. No, that's the thing is Alex is usually you can source what he's talking about.
Yeah.
When he says the frogs, there's chemical in the water turning the frogs gay. You can look up atrazine and see the study about the frogs being gay.
That's like 6 months after he says it, though.
Yeah, but that's with Tom. Tom is a very qualified guy. Like, he's been all sorts, and the government loves him as far as an expert witness, which may or may not be a good thing. But the fact is, he is a recognized expert witness. He's got lots of military experience. He's got lots of. He was, I think, working for the RCMP as well. He was like ultra qualified guy, but a lot of the stuff he talks about, I just can't seem to find any sort of backup. But yeah, interesting podcast. I listen to it,
and I think I don't know. Maybe we did mention it very briefly, or. I remember that whole thing coming out where they were supposed to come here, and then there was like the whole you can't train people that aren't your allies, and China's not our ally, so they squashed it. And I think it kind of like it came up and then it vanished so quickly.
Well, I thought we talked
nobody
about
cares.
this.
We
And
talked
we
about
did.
a prepper for sure.
I'm sure that we talked about this briefly on one episode, and maybe I'll go back and find it. And I thought the other thing that we found was that like the training had occurred in like 2017 or something, that it wasn't even like current.
There was a previous one that had occurred that no one knew about and no one got upset about. But then there was another one scheduled that people found out and were upset about.
Yeah, but the fact that we're going to allow them to deploy units to protect Chinese assets on Canadian soil, nobody cared about that.
Yeah, that's but that, and again, the FIPA, which is the Foreign Investment Protection Act, that was passed by literally Hitler Harper, right? So I mean, like it just depends who you ask. I mean, they're all pro-China. It seems, just on varying degrees. So
yeah,
ultimately, anything that is negative towards local government just gets covered up and glossed over, and that's what happened with this.
yeah. Kind of like when they let that guy that's like the president of Hanwei or whatever come over from China in the last like month or so. It was a thing, and then it
We already
wasn't a
mentioned
thing.
SNC Lavalin, We Charity. Both of those have disappeared despite incredible amounts of corruption and evidence of corruption of our current politicians. And what happened? Nothing.
Yeah, I mean,
Not
we
even
could go
so
on
much
and
as a
on
promise
and
to meet
on.
with the ethics commissioner this time. You remember when
Like-
politicians in this country stood by what they said and they would gladly meet with the ethics commissioner?
Yeah,
repeatedly.
Just think, I mean, like if anybody has watched any of the, recent like question periods and stuff like that, the amount of completely insanity that has come out of some of those question periods about even the corona in terms of the actions and no evidence about any of their actions and no data support anything they're doing and stuff. There's not a single news article. There's nothing about any of this stuff that's going on in our current political system that's happening right now. There's just nothing, because it's all, I mean, it all looks terrible in the liberals. So they just talk about Joe Biden's dog and just dumb shit like that.
Well, could you imagine what would have happened if Harper had elbowed some girl in the tit?
They would still be talking about it.
Yeah.
Still be talking about it today. Abuser, every single article about Stephen Harper would talk about Stephen Harper, known abuser of women, said this today.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, they even tried to blame that on Harper because he was in the back of the room when Trudeau did it.
Yes.
It's like, and I remember one of the funniest things I ever saw between the Trudeau goes and like hangs it at the zoo with the pandas and everyone loves him for it. Like literally the same photo of Harper with the pandas, and they're like tearing him a new asshole because they're like, oh, this is so stupid, but he's just pandering, and you're like, it's like the exact same photo.
Pandering? Really?
Yes.
That's the
No pun intended.
Yeah.
a level of journalism I cannot tolerate. Back onto the YouTube. There's a suggestion to get Krusty Canuck on, for which I refer you to episode 258, wherein Krusty Canuck does many of his hilarious voices live on the show.
Yeah. I mean, we could get him on again.
Yeah, I like talking to him, and I really think he needs a sidekick, but I don't have any kind of free time to volunteer.
Said that he'd get us on his show at one point. So if you're listening, like, I'm sure we'll do it. Just tell us when. Maybe not Andrew because he's busy, but some of us other alcoholics might
I should be
make it.
doing chores. Or
Just get Dave to do them. Dave's choring right now. He can do your chores too.
We've also got an email from ET regarding vaccination passport. Hey guys, my MP. I won't do it in French. ET's great, but he's in French. My MP, William Amos, was asking for feedback on the support of a vaccine passport on his book of faces. He linked to this study, which I think may be of interest. Of course, it shows Ontario to be the most willing to give away its freedom, while Quebec tells the Crown to go fuck itself. No surprises, worth reading nonetheless. There's a link in the show notes to the actual vaccine passport thing. Cheers to my friends who oppose tyranny, ET of the Seal Clubbing Club.
I find it interesting that Quebec tells the Crown to fuck off, yet they vote the most statist governments into power.
No. They're okay when it's the province that tells everyone what to do.
Yes, yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
They want to be in power. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the French
okay.
people telling the French people what's okay and what's not okay. They don't like when the English people tell them what is and isn't okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I feel the same way.
That and yes. Bonjour, Etienne. Ça va? You can
And
email
so,
me back.
so
yeah,
far,
yeah,
the
you
Liberals aren't doing so well in Quebec. The Bloc is actually moving up and coming up close to the Liberals.
Maybe Quebec will finally become a real country.
Mm.
One can hope.
Hot.
And
Hottest-
also, I agree with the sentiment that a vaccine passport can fuck off.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. That was what
Yeah,
I want to
we-
go around and go with the hottest takes. Where are we as a panel? Yay or nay on the vaccine passports?
There won't be one. No.
That sounds very unconstitutional, so I don't imagine them not trying it. But yeah, that thing.
Do we have a real constitution?
Yeah.
Well, I was
Yeah.
gonna like I absolutely think the government is going to try and pull some nonsense like that because they're going to be like, well, if you want to get on an airplane, you're going to have to show us you got your vaccine.
Yeah,
But
we
it's
won't make the
completely
vaccine
voluntary, but-
mandatory. Yeah.
Yeah.
However,
we're
to
not
do
gonna-
anything other than
We're not going to make
breathe-
it like mandatory. Like you're not going to have a vaccine. We're not going to force you to get a vaccine, but we're also not going to let you into pharmacies, grocery stores, get a driver's license renewal, buy a hunting license, go into Canadian Tire, fly on an airplane, sit in the
receive your
theater,
tax
go to a
credit or whatever it
restaurant,
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same way they're not forcing us to give our guns back.
Yeah. Until
Yeah.
we die.
They're just making them completely useless.
Also, forcing you to give them back.
Yeah.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
in their way, it doesn't feel like that. It feels like
Yeah.
they're giving
Maybe
us
not today, but
Yeah.
at some point you are forcing you to give them back.
Yeah.
And are the Liberals not the people, the party of my body, my choice? What happened to that?
Mm.
Bigot, put on a mask. You're going to kill somebody's grandmother.
Well, I mean, you still have a choice, right? Just like you have the choice of turning your guns in for a lot less money than they're worth, or hanging on to them until you die
Yeah.
and not being able to give them to anyone or ever use them again.
Oh,
To
you mean
quote
the ones
mentally
that
unstable?
you mean the ones
person
that
in the
when
Batman
my
films.
when my son comes into the basement and goes, "Oh, I wonder what happened to those two ARs." They're not here.
To
Allegedly.
quote the mentally unstable actor in the Batman films, it's not about the money. It's about sending a message.
Mm-hmm.
Some men just want to watch the world burn.
They could offer me $1 million for every AR I own. They're still not getting them back.
Nope.
I mean, you could buy a milling machine for that kind of money.
$1 million?
Nope.
Nope. It's not going to happen anyway. So it's
But that's like
Yeah, because
even if the
they just
government
tax you
was-
on the back end of that.
Yeah.
Okay, so $500,000.
They'd get
I
all
guess
that
marginal-
back.
Yeah.
Marginal tax rate, 53%.
Income.
But
Yeah.
Take it.
Oh, dude, you got to get capital gains on that AR though too.
Yeah.
yeah, that'd probably be more than my marginal tax rate. In any event, I've got one more from Josh. The subject is feedback. Hello. Yeah. Yes, that was me. Andrew awkwardly waved too. LOL. How do I get my cartoon? Do I do a live pose for Gavin, like Titanic style?
Yes.
I got you, Josh. I'll paint you like one of my French girls.
Oh, c'est bon.
Yeah. I'm gonna need some help from our resident Frenchman ET there that sent a thing to help me with that, but we got you.
Cool. So I think we've got Josh sorted out via email with Gavin to get his drawing done.
Your drawing will be of you suffering through the radio course with the rest of us.
I'm sorry. Is Josh on the radio course
Yeah.
with us? I haven't.
Yeah.
We should invite him to the shit talking chat that we have.
Yeah.
If
Sort
you're
that out.
taking the Radio Amateurs of Canada course and you're in the Discord, shoot somebody on the panel a message, like jump on our Discord and let us know who you are, and we can add you to the private chat we have going where all we do is talk shit during class.
Yeah.
Because it's really, really awful.
It's way worse than this show.
Yeah. Book club next month. Actually, on reflection, I do want to do one other thing about book club. Ian, how was younger CPP's book club?
Actually, it went fairly well. Turns out one of our panelists did not read the book in time, but he was there for moral support. That's what's important.
Yeah.
But
He can
anyways.
read?
yeah, he can.
Yeah.
Well, as long as the words are like shorter than 5 or so letters. But anyway, yeah, no. So it went fairly well. Like I think there was good discussion, lots of group chat with the live YouTube commentary, and I think we'll certainly do another one. We've already picked up with our next book, so
You guys are staying in the prepper fiction theme.
yeah, this one's going to be a Canadian author with a Canadian theme to it,
Yeah.
about a pandemic, no less. So it's antigenic shift. It's called.
They apparently they don't want to take on any books that might get them on a watch list.
Well,
Yet.
on that note, tune in rather at the end of this month when we do Professor Kaczynski's Industrial Society and its Future.
We've always got the Anarchist Cookbook. And maybe in a couple months from now, we could play with.
Uncle Ted knows what's up.
Yeah.
If you're shopping on Amazon, you should use our affiliate link in the show notes. Go buy yourself a Big Luau shirt. And if you follow our link or go to bigluau.biz and do any of your shopping on Amazon after hitting our affiliate link, we get a small portion of that revenue as a commission. And I appreciate that sort of thing. It's allowed me to do things like buy this lovely new microphone that keys out on my screen, but makes me sound slightly better.
That was worth the extra $10 to have it disappear so you can't see it.
Yeah, it's just because it's like one color of black. It's right here. Like you just it's just hard to because it keys out. Anyway, we're on Discord. Link in the chat. We'll go around the room. Ian, where can everybody find you?
You can email me at thewesternretreat@gmail.com, and you can find me on Gab at The Western Retreat.
Oh, on Gab.
Yeah, well, Facebook doesn't love me anymore, so.
Facebook never loved me, but here we are. Marty, where can everybody find the show?
CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Send us feedback at /feedback or email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com.
All right. If people want to hang out in person with us and they live in Southern Ontario, Brian, do you have any upcoming events they might want to participate in?
There is a shoot coming up this Sunday
Yeah, buddy.
that I know of. And
But if
We're gonna
you're
play
not
guns.
registered, it's probably already
yeah,
full.
it's all full now anyway.
That's not the point. Come play guns.
Yeah. Come play guns though, for real. It's a lot of fun.
Gavin, where can everybody find you?
The best place to find me, aside from all the government watch lists, is on the Instagram, UrbexGTA, all one word.
All right. Richard, if anybody wants to get in touch with you about your Section 74 or anything else, is there a place they should be directing their attention?
I'm on Facebook when I'm not in jail, so that's a hit and miss for anybody.
All right.
You'll get banned like the rest of us. Don't
I
worry.
got a 24-hour ban because I told somebody they sucked at something.
I have never got a ban ever, and I got completely deleted, much like Andrew.
And
I
myself.
also have never gotten a ban, and one day I just wasn't allowed to log in anymore. And then my dog wasn't allowed to log in, and that's the real travesty, is taking away my dog's Facebook account, because my dog is majestic.
What about your beard?
Okay, so I don't know who runs my beard's social media. I know everybody thinks it's me. It's not me. I think I know who it is, but they won't cop to it. Andrew's beard, as far as I know, is still on Facebook. But yeah, I don't know. I haven't been on in a long time, and I'm probably not gonna
You're
rectify
not missing
that.
much.
No.
Well, things we are missing. I have to apologize to Rod Giltaca. We couldn't fit him into the show tonight. This was all about gun stuff, and I know that's not his strong suit. Maybe
One day
next
he'll
week,
get it.
Rod. Maybe next week.
Also,
I
can't
have-
confirm your beard still has a Facebook profile.
Son of a gun.
I'm almost there. I'm playing catch up a little bit. It's getting there.
Actually, that reminded me what you just said about Rod, that in case anybody doesn't know, we lost the injunction.
I think we covered that. I don't remember if we
probably
covered
did,
that,
Yeah.
but
Anyone
I'm
catching up?
reasonably sure we talked
Yeah.
about that. Anyway, if Rod,
There's
if
another black
Rod,
pill here.
Rod, your people should talk to my people. They know one another. You could come on the show. We could do beer. It'd be a good time.
Yeah.
For all of our listeners out there in podcast land, I'd like to remind you that you are the true North, strong and free. I can't find